In the beginning, omnipotent entities created countless universes. They were known as the absolute beings. They reveled in their eternal existence and their countless innovations, and in the process an infinite number of creations, souls, and laws came into being. However, these absolute beings grew bored of the endless repetition, and so they devised a way to enjoy the flow of time watching the wars between the creatures they had made. The absolute beings found the destruction of their creations quite amusing. Even though these countless creations were trapped in an endless cycle of life and death through long, drawn-out wars, the absolute beings felt it was a necessary diversion to relieve their boredom. However, an incident occurred. An absolute being was killed by his own creations while he was watching one of the endless wars. Upon learning of this, the other absolute beings gathered to observe the world that had lost its master. The death of their comrade was caused by a creature of his own making, yet the absolute beings completely ignored this fact. They all shared the same thought. Ownerless power belongs to the one who claims it first. Scene change, a high school in Korea. Let me introduce you to our badass protagonist, Suho. Today is his last day of high school. Suho grins brightly and says, "Hey guys, I got into the National University of Arts." His friends sitting next to him are shocked. Holy crap, how did someone with zero artistic sense like our Suho get into a University of Arts? And here I am failing and having to retake the exam next year. Our protagonist doesn't hesitate to laugh at his friend's misery, saying, "Finally, I'm out of this hellhole." Suddenly, a sarcastic voice rings out. "Congratulations, Suho. I heard you got into the University of Arts. I never thought you had it in you. Since when were you so talented, huh?" A hot-headed, red-haired punk appears. Suho says nonchalantly, "You again, Kim Woon-cheon?" The other guy grits his teeth in anger. "My name is Woon-cheon, you bastard." Suho looks at him with even more disdain. "Oh, is that so?" The guy continues. "Thanks to you, my plan to rule this school went up in smoke, didn't it?" Suho replies, "Yep, and thanks to you, I managed to graduate." The people around them start whispering. "Woon-cheon is starting trouble again. We're about to graduate. Why does he have to act like such a child?" "I know, right? Why does he keep picking fights with a guy who just wants to live happily after his parents went missing?" Suddenly, the other guy shouts, "Suho!" and lunges toward our protagonist with his fist raised. But just because Suho is quiet doesn't mean he's a pushover. He immediately rushes forward, grabs the red-haired punk by the head, and says with frustration, "We're about to graduate. Why can't we just put our grudges aside?" As he finishes speaking, his eyes flash with anger. He then drives his knee straight into Woon-cheon's face. The red-haired guy spits out some blood after the knee strike, but he still smiles with a look of sadistic pleasure. "That didn't hurt one bit." Then his eyes glow red and a mysterious flame erupts from his hand. His power surges to its limit, and with a loud bang, he throws a punch straight at Suho. But Suho quickly dodges it. After the punch, our protagonist feels a sense of fear. The surrounding students are also completely shocked and bewildered. They can't believe that Woon-cheon just punched a hole straight through a metal locker. Even the red-haired punk himself is surprised by the power of his own punch. "Why is it so strong?" A powerful aura emanates from his entire body. Suho collapses onto the floor, stunned by what he just witnessed. Maybe I should stop messing with him from now on. He might actually kill me one day. Scene change 2 years later. Suho is now a sophomore at the National University of Arts. Besides being 2 years older and a few centimeters taller, his life hasn't changed much. While walking down the street, he notices something ahead. A man with a megaphone is shouting, "All classes in the main building have been moved to the annex. Hunters are currently raiding a gate. Please maintain a safe distance." Nearby, some staff members are talking. How long have they been in there? A little over 8 hours. It's a D-rank gate, so they should be out soon. Hey, this area is dangerous for civilians, so please stay back. What do you think will happen if the raid fails? The hunters will probably handle it. Our protagonist thinks to himself, another gate, huh? 3 years ago, the world changed with the appearance of gates. Gates are entrances to dungeons filled with monsters. After a certain amount of time passes, the monsters go into a frenzy and try to escape the gate. However, along with this threat, humanity also changed as if we were predestined to confront them. The awakened superhumans who wield magic power began to appear. Everyone thought this chaos would last for a long time with the world changing so rapidly. But things quickly stabilized after an awakened being named Wu Jin Chul established the Hunter Association and gathered them all under one name, Hunters. Now the world is divided in two, the awakened hunters and ordinary people. Scene change. At this moment, our protagonist is sitting in an art class sketching true to his major. While some people have to work like ants to make a living, others are born into wealth and privilege. This vast difference makes ordinary people realize their limits. No matter how hard a normal person tries, they can never close the gap between them and a hunter, not even an E-rank one. If hunters didn't raid the gates, this world would end, and ordinary people wouldn't survive. But the hunters would be fine without them. That's why everyone is grateful to the hunters. After all, isn't it thanks to them that ordinary people like me can live a peaceful life? But another worry begins to sprout in my heart. Am I getting used to having nothing? My parents went missing, and I have to struggle to get by day after day. There was a time I thought I could have everything. But after everything, I had disappeared. A feeling of helplessness began to take root in a corner of my heart. My mother always told me that I was becoming more and more like my father. If it were him, how would my father have escaped this feeling of helplessness? Suddenly, a voice pulls Suho back to reality. A classmate approaches him. "Hey, you're really focused. What are you drawing so intently?" Our protagonist replies, "Oh, I'm just drawing what came to mind." The other person asks, "An ant? But that's no ordinary ant, is it?" It would be more accurate to call it an ant soldier." Suho thinks in confusion. How did I draw this so well? The portrait was of a monster with a human body and an ant's head. It looked terrifying, yet also strangely comical. Scene change. Outside a gate. A voice shouts, "The hunters are coming out. They look relaxed. The raid must have been a success." A staff member approaches one of them. "You've worked hard. Hunter Kim Dong-soo." The hunter replies, "The raid was a success. I also have something to report to the association. We encountered a new type of monster today. They were humanoid in form and emitted a blue flame from their eyes and mouths. They attacked with fangs and claws, but their attack power was negligible. I got scratched by one, but it didn't even leave a mark." The staff member interrupts. "But there's still a new monster type. This is the first time we've encountered something like this since the gates first appeared. It's fortunate they weren't too dangerous. In any case, Hunter Kim, please make sure to file a summary report about what happened during this raid." Looking closer, however, there is a large gash on Dong-soo's thigh. Suddenly, the wound seems to catch fire as a blue flame erupts from it. Dong-soo immediately feels a change in his body. A look of shock spreads across his face. His body begins to tremble uncontrollably and his hands shake so badly that he drops his sword and shield. The staff member standing beside him sees this and asks bewildered, "Hunter Kim, are you all right?" Before he could finish his sentence, Dong-soo opens his mouth inhumanly wide, about to bite him. His eyes have become completely vacant. A mysterious blue flame appears inside his mouth. And then Chomp Dong-soo, as if driven mad, takes a massive bite out of the staff member. Seeing this, everyone freezes in horror. Another hunter shouts, "That blue flame! It's just like the monsters in the dungeon." But before she can finish, the crazed Dong-soo is already upon her. And again, Chomp, the female hunter, falls, blood splattering everywhere. Realizing the danger, the staff and the onlookers who had gathered nearby turn and flee for their lives. But the crazed Dong-soo doesn't let them go. He lunges, biting one person after another, and those he bites immediately transform into zombie-like monsters. Scene change, the protagonist's classroom. Here things are still peaceful. Suddenly, people begin to hear screams from below. The students rush to the windows to see what's happening. "What's going on? What is that thing?" Suho, also curious, goes to look. The moment he sees it, he is horrified and blurts out, "Are they killing each other?" Below, countless people are dead or have turned into monsters. The situation is pure chaos. The students above begin to panic. "Their eyes, they're glowing blue. Those are monsters. Please don't tell me it's a dungeon break. What are you waiting for? We have to run. No, we should wait here until the hunters arrive." Then everyone's attention turns to a person behind them. They all shout in unison, "Talim! You're an awakened, do something!" The terrified young man stammers, "But what can an E-ranker like me do?" Suddenly, Suho's face twists in fear as he spots something. A monster has effortlessly leaped up to their floor. It crouches down, gathering its strength. Then the monster shoots forward. Suho screams in terror, "Run!" Just as he says it, another monster crashes through the window behind them, taking down a student instantly. Suho manages to dodge just in time. These mutated beings constantly emit blue flames from their eyes and mouths. Everyone is frozen in fear at the sight. When they look back, they see the first monster tearing into another victim. Suho yells frantically, "Everyone run!" But nearby an injured classmate is on the ground crying for help. "I can't get up. Help me." Suho hears her but is helpless, paralyzed by his own fear. He scrambles toward the door and says, "I'll go get the hunters." Then our protagonist thinks, "Damn it, why did I say that I just left someone to die? But the only thing an ordinary person like me can do right now is..." "Ordinary person my ass. Stop making excuses and doing nothing. You have to think of a way. Anyway, Suho, Dad, if it were you, what would you do?" Then Suho vaguely sees his father's determined gaze as if he wanted to say to him, "Go back and beat the hell out of it, my son." Meanwhile, the monster has finished off a few people and now notices the girl collapsed on the floor. The girl is so scared that tears stream down her face like rain, unable to scream. The monster lets out a terrifying growl, its maw dripping with the blood of the dead. It suddenly lunges toward the helpless girl, its eyes blazing and its mouth wide open, ready to bite down on its prey's head. But that wasn't going to happen. Like a god, Suho appears, smashing the monster's maw with a fire extinguisher. He thinks, if it were my dad, he would definitely... Suddenly, a blurry notification appears. System notification. You have met the conditions for the secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Scene change, 5 minutes earlier. Suho is running for his life from the monsters. He remembers something. A long time ago, I had a dream. That dream was like a game. To defeat the monsters that got stronger on each floor, I had to fight and level up constantly. As the monsters grew stronger, I had to force myself to keep improving. And so, after countless trials, I finally reached the highest floor. The final boss I had to face was incredibly strong. Even though he was my enemy, I couldn't help but feel envy and even reverence for his power. And for some reason, the identity of that final boss. He patted my head and asked, "Was this game fun?" Suho was stunned. A game, Dad. And that final boss was my father. Perhaps because the image of him in my dream was so powerful in my eyes, he has always been strong and reliable. But how did he become so strong? Lost in thought, our protagonist sees a fire extinguisher. Without hesitation, he grabs it and thinks, "Dad, if you were in a situation like this, facing such a terrifying monster, you would have done the same thing, wouldn't you?" And that's how we get to the scene of Suho smashing the monster's maw with a fire extinguisher. After hitting it, Suho thinks, "Now, what do I do? I heard that unawakened people lack mana, so they can't defeat monsters. I acted too rashly." But then a look of utter confusion appeared on Suho's face. He thought, "What's happening? Did time just stop?" In front of Suho, a notification panel appeared. Notice, you have fulfilled the conditions to complete the secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Notice, you have been invited to become a player. Will you accept? Our protagonist stood there completely stunned, then uttered, "This situation. It's exactly like that dream. If I could fight in that dream, why am I surrendering to reality now?" After a moment of thought, Suho chose to accept becoming a player. Immediately, a brilliant light erupted the radiant glow of a system's chosen one. Notice, congratulations, you have now become a player. Quest reward, secret quest, Courage of the Weak. Reward, blessing of the great sorcerer, Kandiaru. The great sorcerer Kandiaru has granted you a special gift. His blessing will help you stay healthy for your entire life. Quest reward, permanent effect, longevity. All diseases, poisons, and status effects will be healed. A good night's sleep can increase the effectiveness of longevity. Notice, the system will help the player grow stronger. This is not a dream. Remember, you only have one life. Then a character status window appeared. Everything was pathetically low, but there was one promising skill, Ruler's Authority. A wide grin spread across Suho's face as he thought, "Just as I thought, the status window is exactly like in the game." Another system notification popped up. Quest notification. Guidance quest. Defeat the flame zombies and level up. Level up. Aha. Then our protagonist looked at the monster before him. It was slowly collapsing. Nearby, a few more D-rank flame zombies had appeared. Suho thought, "Time is moving again." He yelled, "Run!" The classmate behind him immediately obeyed, fleeing and leaving Suho alone with the monsters. He thought, "There's information above their heads. My opponents are 2 unawakened individuals and 1 hunter, all transformed by the monsters. If I've truly awakened, come at me, you bastards." With those words, Suho swung the fire extinguisher again, smashing another zombie's jaw. He then took a fighting stance, ready to throw a punch. With a confident look, he said, "Sorry, but I hate monsters." Immediately after, he unleashed a devastating punch. Suho hit the monster so hard its head was driven into the ceiling. Even he was surprised by his own punch. "Holy crap," he muttered. "It only took 1 punch." Another monster lunged at him. Suho simply sidestepped, then spun and kicked it square in the chest. With just 1 kick, another one was down. System notification. You have defeated an unawakened flame zombie. Notice. Level up. Notice. Guidance challenge complete. Quest notification. Guidance quest. Defeat the flame zombies and level up. Level up to 2. Notice. You have received a quest reward. Check the reward. Accept. Decline. Suho smiled. Now it's certain. I've really become an awakened. Right after, he rushed forward and punched the D-rank awakened flame zombie. But he froze. Damn it, it did nothing. Suddenly, the monster stood up and lunged, moving so fast it blurred past him. Its sharp claws raked across Suho's chest, tearing his clothes. He quickly kicked it straight in the chest, but the monster stood firm, while our protagonist was sent flying back several meters. Suho looked down at the wound on his chest, his face filled with sheer terror. "Shit! If I'm injured, will I turn into a monster? I just became an awakened, and I'm already going to turn into one. What rotten luck!" The system chimed in again. Notice. A status abnormality has been detected. Notice. The status abnormality has been removed by the effect of longevity. Immediately, the scratches on Suho's chest healed rapidly, the wound sealing itself shut. Suho was astonished. Longevity. Come to think of it, I saw that in the status window earlier. Before he could finish his thought, the monster lunged again, pinning him to the ground. As Suho struggled, he thought, if I'm weaker than this D-rank awakened who turned into a monster, that means I'm E-rank. I only just awakened, so there must be a way to make up for this power difference. Suho's eyes suddenly lit up. He shouted, "That's right, accept reward. System notification, quest reward. You will receive the following rewards. Stat points, +5. Strength, +3. Strength 11, 14. Even though it was only a 3-point increase, it felt like Suho had gained 3 million points in strength. He let out a loud roar, his fighting spirit surging. He kicked upwards from behind, sending the monster stumbling forward, but this one was tough. It stood its ground unfazed. Suddenly, Suho dashed forward like lightning and punched. He struck the ugly monster straight in the jaw, then followed up with a barrage of punches. He thought, even with my increased strength, I still can't beat this thing. In that case, I'll use all the points I just got to increase my strength. Immediately, his strength stat jumped from 14 to 19. An awakened who can level up, I've never heard of such a thing. Ranks are determined at the moment of awakening, and no awakened can become stronger than someone of a higher rank. I don't know who created this ranking system, but if I have the power to break free from this damn hierarchy... The wall in the room began to shake violently, cracks spreading with each of Suho's punches. After a moment, the wall couldn't take it anymore. Our protagonist landed a powerful punch that sent the monster flying straight through the wall. Suho's eyes gleamed. He was in a battle frenzy. He landed another punch on the monster's face, sending it flying like a kicked ball. After the fight, Suho was exhausted. He stood there, panting heavily. System notification. You have defeated a D-rank awakened flame zombie. Notice. Level up. Notice. Level up. Notice. Level up. Suho collapsed exhausted. I won. With this system, I've become an awakened. Now I can do something. I can save people and resolve this disaster. But then, from below, the sound of heavy footsteps grew louder. A monster carrying a sword was charging forward. It stomped its foot once and leaped high into the air. Suho was peering outside, wondering, I wonder what the situation outside is like. Before he could see anything, his eyes widened in terror. He saw a monster swinging a sword as it flew upwards, aiming to slash him. It was the C-rank awakened flame zombie. Boom! A massive explosion tore apart the classroom where our protagonist was standing, sending dust and debris everywhere. Scene change outside. A city loudspeaker was broadcasting an announcement. A dungeon break has occurred at the National University of Arts. All civilians in the vicinity are requested to evacuate immediately. Below, an armed squad had arrived at the chaotic scene. The captain said, "Damn it! The death toll is rising and all we can do is stand here helplessly. When the hell are the people from the Hunter Association going to arrive?" His subordinate reported, "Sir, it will take a considerable amount of time to gather B-rank or higher hunters." The captain asked, bewildered, "B-rank? Didn't they say this was only a D-rank gate?" The subordinate replied, "Sir, the association is referring to the infected hunters. Could it be that C-rank hunter Kim Dong-soo?" The C-rank tank. At that very moment, the hunter Kim Dong-soo, now possessed by a monster, was carrying his weapon and aiming to kill our protagonist. Suho thought, "What the hell? It jumped from the floor below a C-rank flame zombie, and now it has a weapon. It's on a completely different level from the others, but I've leveled up, so maybe this time it's possible." While lost in thought, the sword swung past him. Suho quickly dodged. The monster's casual swing was enough to slice the wall behind him in two. Suho was terrified by the devastating slash. The monster, on the other hand, let out a chillingly gleeful laugh. It raised its sword again to strike down, but suddenly the fire extinguisher was thrown at it. The monster effortlessly sliced the extinguisher in half while Suho took the chance to run. Immediately, white smoke from inside the extinguisher billowed out quickly, filling the room and obscuring everything. From within the smoke, Suho ran for his life. As he ran, he thought, "There's no way I can fight that thing. This is why they rank awakened beings differently. When will the other hunters get here? I just need to hold on until they arrive." But the monster quickly emerged from the smoke. It stared at our protagonist, then gave a chillingly excited smile. Suddenly, it turned its head to the side, looking at something else, and its smile grew even more sadistic. Suho was surprised it wasn't chasing him. He glanced back and saw it staring at three girls on a distant floor. The three girls were terrified, telling each other, "Let's just wait here until the hunters arrive. They'll be here soon, right?" They were right that someone would arrive soon, but it was the monster. It raised its sword, then shot towards the three girls. Suho watched in horror. After he slashed, he stood still on the other side. "Those three girls, they must be dead." Suho gritted his teeth in fury. His eyes filled with a determination he hadn't felt before. "Damn it, it's one thing after another. If I just stand here and wait, who knows how long it will take?" With that thought, he shot upwards with surprising ease. Once he landed, he immediately delivered a kick to the back of the monster's neck. "I have to stop this guy," Suho thought. But his kick seemed to do nothing. The monster stood firm. Then it furiously swung its sword in a wild frenzy. Suho could only back away, thinking, "Even though one of its hits is enough to kill me, I can't let it run wherever it wants." Then Suho rushed in, landing a continuous barrage of punches on the monster's body. He deftly dodged its slashes, then punched again. A punch to the left, then a punch to the right. He attacked high, then low, relentlessly. The monster seemed slightly dazed from the constant blows. Seizing the opportunity, Suho used a powerful knee strike straight to the monster's face. He thought it was a cool move, but it was a mistake. It gave the monster an opening. It immediately swung its sword, slashing straight into Suho. Blood splattered like rain. Our protagonist's face was a mask of terror as he coughed up blood. The slash was so powerful it sent Suho flying into a distant wall. After the impact, he spat out a large amount of blood, his face dazed. Just one slash was enough to leave Suho completely immobile, collapsed on the ground. It seemed he had aimed a little too high. A system notification appeared. HP 140. He collapsed, whispering, "So lucky. I guess the system doesn't want me to die yet." The monster on the other side grinned triumphantly. But then a small crack appeared in space. Suho, covered in wounds from the slash, struggled to get up. The spatial crack grew larger and larger, emitting a brilliant light from within. The monster, once again aggressive, charged forward. System notification. Fatigue, 99. Suho's eyes grew dim and slowly closed. He felt incredibly tired and could no longer resist. His body began to slump as the monster lunged, but the spatial rift shattered. A black object shot through it with incredible speed. A black shadow flashed past the monster's body, claws extended. The monster raised its sword, preparing to finish Suho off. But then, slash, surprise bastard. A creature descended from above, directly severing the monster's arm. Hearing the strange noise, Suho weakly glanced over, his vision blurry. He weakly asked, "Beru?" The creature extended its gruesome hand and replied, "No, it is I who was too slow. You despicable vermin, daring to harm my lord." With those words, the mysterious creature unfurled its wings and tore the monster Kim Dong-soo to shreds. Elsewhere, the monsters were still relentlessly hunting humans. A monster carrying a spear was about to skewer a young man with a racket Talim. Terrified, Talim screamed, "Somebody help me!" Before he could finish, the monster in front of him was torn to pieces. The other monsters met the same fate. Wherever the claws swept, bodies were scattered. Countless monsters in the surrounding area were killed in an instant. The horrifying shrieks of monsters filled the air. The sharp sound of slicing flesh swept through like a storm. It flashed from one place to another, leaving utter destruction in its wake. The mysterious creature relentlessly hunted down every monster in the vicinity, obliterating the area. Its speed was impossible to follow with the naked eye. The military squad on the ground could only watch in shock. After its rampage, the mysterious creature finally stopped. It knelt beside the fallen Suho. It looked just like the ant soldier our protagonist had drawn earlier. The mysterious creature spoke. "It has been a while, my young lord." The scene change inside Suho's dream. Suho is diligently drawing the ant monster in a room filled with many other peculiar paintings. He suddenly looks up. The ant monster has walked up to him. In this dream, Suho is still a child, wearing a colorful, flowery apron. The ant monster says emotionally, "Heh, young lord, are you drawing me? I'm so moved." As soon as Suho sees the ant monster's teardrop, he groggily opens his eyes and wakes up. His face contorts in confusion. Suho blurts out, "An ant." Scene change. A little while later, someone is yelling into the phone. "Suho, what the hell just happened? You aren't seriously hurt, are you? This isn't good at all. The outside world is in chaos. I'll find you some awakened bodyguards." Our protagonist calmly replies, "I'm fine, uncle." By the time Suho woke up, 2 days had passed. The TV news was reporting on the incident at the National University of Arts, which had caused a nationwide uproar. Due to the high number of casualties, the incident became a hot topic debated from many angles. The discovery of monsters that could infect even hunters, and turn them and the Hunter Association's slow response despite the dungeon break happening in the middle of the city. By the time the hunters arrived, all the flame zombies inside the university had mysteriously died from an unknown cause. An eyewitness being interviewed on TV said, "The people who turned into monsters suddenly went crazy in front of me, so I—" Suho calmly turned off the TV. He looked around and smiled with satisfaction. "Just as I thought. My awakening wasn't a dream. Not only that I'm an awakened who gets stronger with every level up, but I thought I was slashed by a C-rank awakened flame zombie. How did I survive that?" Suddenly a voice spoke. "That is because I, Beru, took care of that trash." Suho panicked. He looked down at the floor where a monstrous face was slowly emerging. The ant spoke, "Long time no see, young lord." Immediately after, it started weeping uncontrollably again. What a cry-baby ant. It sniffled. "Young lord, when did you grow up so much? This humble servant is truly overwhelmed with emotion." Suho thought in confusion. "It's like piecing together fragmented memories. My past is suddenly coming back to me. I know this ant. When I was a child, he was one of the creatures who lived with me. Why am I only remembering him now?" Beru said, "I had to cross many dimensions to see you, young lord." Our protagonist grew even more confused. "And why was I living with these shadow creatures when I was a kid? There's so much I don't understand right now." Then Suho spoke up. "And besides, from what I remember, you weren't this small. You're an ant, right?" Beru replied. "This is the result of consuming too much energy while crossing dimensions. Normally, I have a much more magnificent and terrifying appearance." Suho said, "The system window also said your rank is lowest right." The ant immediately flew into a rage. "Lowest rank? Hey, you damned system! How dare you turn me a martial grade being into the lowest rank? Then our protagonist slowly got out of bed. He stretched a little and said, Anyway, thanks to you, I'm all better now, right? Beru chuckled. Hey, it may seem hard to believe, but I am a very talented healer. My purpose in coming here was to release the young lord's seal, but I never expected you to break the seal yourself. This servant Beru is truly impressed with you. Suho asked, confused. A seal? Is that seal related to my dream? Beru replied. You may think of it as just a dream, but in truth, it is everything you have ever experienced. You are even stronger now than when you fought me. Even though the great dark monarch Sung Jinwoo sealed your powers along with your memories in the hope that you would have a normal life. Suho grabbed the small ant and yelled, My father! Just as I thought, you're connected to my father. He ran away from home. Beru replied. He did not run away from home. He went to the outer world. Our protagonist was even more bewildered. The outer world. What does that mean? Beru explained. To put it simply, the dark monarch Sung Jinwoo went to the outer world to fight against invaders who are trying to conquer this entire world. So, my father is protecting the world. That is correct, Beru said. That place is called the territory of the Itarim, the outer gods. The Itarim are sending their apostles to invade our world. On my way to see you, young lord, this servant also tore apart countless enemies. The appearance of gates and monsters on Earth is undoubtedly a side effect of this war. The protagonist asked, Then did my mother go with him? Beru said, confused. No. Why do you ask? Suho replied. She went missing on the same day as my father, so I thought they might be together. Hearing those words, Beru flew into a complete panic. He shrieked in terror. What? How can that be? Madame Hyen is missing. The Itarim. The apostles of Itarim on Earth must have set this wicked trap, Suho said angrily. So it's all because of those bastards called the Itarim that my parents can't come back? Beru asked. Do you wish to meet them, young lord? Our protagonist clenched his fists, gritting his teeth. Of course. I've been alone for so many years. Beru replied, Then there is only one way. The monarch will not be able to return to Earth for some time because of the war, but the young lord can search for and rescue Madame Hyen after becoming stronger. Young lord, let's begin leveling up. As he spoke, he produced a black shadow key. Suddenly, a system notification appeared. Quest notification. Quest. Traces of the shadow. You are the son of the great dark monarch. However, at this moment, your innate talent is completely sealed. To claim that great power, you must prove your worth. Enter the dungeon and prove yourself. Item dungeon key. This is a key for entering the dungeon. It can be used on Sung Suho's shadow. Beru urged, Press that key into your shadow immediately, my lord. Our protagonist plunged the key into his own shadow. Amazingly, it went through. A small ripple appeared at the point of contact. Then Suho turned the key. A dungeon gate immediately materialized before his eyes. Suho was so shocked his jaw dropped. Beru said, Go on. Enter and claim all the power that should rightfully be yours, young lord. Our protagonist stood there, took a deep breath, and thought, I still can't believe it. The outer world. The war with the outer gods, the dark monarch, none of it makes sense. But if I can meet them again by becoming stronger, then I will level up with everything I have. Beru looked at Suho and seemed to remember something. My monarch. He recalled the moment the monarch gave his order. Beru, go to Earth and release Suho's seal. Beru had asked, Your Majesty means the young lord's seal. The monarch replied, That's right. The apostles of Itarim have likely spread to Earth. Return Suho's sealed power and memories so he can protect Earth himself. As for the rest, you will decide and act based on the situation. Beru thought, I will decide if your majesty leaves the rest under my control. Then I, Beru, will stay by the young lord's side and watch over his growth. Just then, Suho's face became incredibly determined. He looked straight ahead and slowly stepped through the dungeon gate. As soon as he was inside, the gate began to shrink. Then poof, it vanished in an instant. After a moment, Suho's figure emerged inside the gate. Beru's voice echoed, This is the land of the dead where the living cannot set foot without the permission of the monarch of the Shadow Dungeon. Suho observed his surroundings and thought, So this is the Shadow Dungeon. It looks more like an abandoned city than a dungeon, but for some reason it feels strangely familiar. Suddenly, the system displayed another notification. Quest. Notification. Quest. Survive. The inhabitants of the Shadow Dungeon will never accept you as the master of this land. Survive for the specified time and prove your worth. Time limit 4 hours. Time remaining 4 hours. Suho asked, bewildered. I have to survive here for 4 hours. Beru replied, Be careful, my lord. The time of trial is about to begin. Time of trial? Our protagonist asked, confused. Just as he finished speaking, a monster lunged down from above, trying to skewer him. But Suho was no pushover. He kicked the monster squarely in the stomach. You bastard, you scared the hell out of me, he cursed. Above the monster's head, information appeared. Goblin Scout. A Goblin Scout? Suho asked. Beru explained, If there's a scout, it means there are likely more goblins nearby. Then I have to deal with it before it calls its allies, our protagonist said. Beru shouted, Young Lord Goblins may be the weakest type of monster, but you shouldn't be reckless. Suho replied, This one's name isn't even colored, which means it's either at my level or weaker. Just as the goblin was about to raise its horn to signal, Suho dashed in front of it. He swiftly broke the goblin's arm and snatched its weapon, then brought the stone axe down on the goblin's skull. System notification. You have obtained the item, Goblin's stone axe. You have defeated the Goblin Scout. Suho stood there and said confidently, See, only monsters stronger than me have colored names. I see, I understand, Beru said. But their relief was short-lived. The sound of a warning horn still echoed. It turned out there was another Goblin Scout sitting on a lamppost blowing its horn to signal its comrades. Looks like there wasn't just one scout, Suho said grimly. As he spoke, the sound of more monster footsteps approached. A goblin officer appeared, followed by a goblin captain. Suho turned to Beru in dismay. Hey, aren't you going to help me? Beru replied. I'm afraid my hands are tied. Being so far from His Majesty, I'm not receiving his mana. Therefore, I must conserve as much energy as possible. Furthermore, if I interfere in this battle, the amount of experience the young lord receives will be significantly reduced. So in short, you're not going to be much help, Suho said. Well then, let's give this a try. He reached his hand back and a stream of light emanated from his palm, connecting to the goblin axe he had just obtained. The axe was pulled out of the dead goblin's head and flew back into Suho's hand. He then swung the axe, spinning it a few times. Wherever the axe spun, the goblins fell. Suho grinned. So, this is what the skill in my status window does. It's like I have an invisible hand. Skill Ruler's Authority, Level 1. Active. Mana cost none. You can interact with physical objects without direct contact. Suddenly an arrow shot towards him at high speed. But with his sharp reflexes, Suho caught the arrow mid-air. He looked up and said, An archer too. Here you can have it back. Then Suho took a stance. Somehow he was able to create an invisible bow, knocked the arrow, and aimed. Thwack. A headshot straight to the cheeky goblin's forehead. Beru thought in amazement. Incredible adaptability. The young lord's childhood was like the beginning of a legendary hero's tale. Even as a child, you could freely use the ruler's authority inherited from His Majesty. However, that power created to destroy everything was merely a hindrance to you in this peaceful world. But now, with the apostles of Iterim invading Earth, the young lord's power finally has a chance to shine. System notification. You have leveled up, Suho mused. It seems the limit of ruler's authority is about 10 kilograms. Lost in thought, he was suddenly stabbed from behind by a goblin. The goblin gave a triumphant smile, but it was the last time it would smile with those hideous teeth. Suho swung his fist and shattered its jaw. Young lord! Beru cried out in alarm. From behind, a powerful dark aura slowly approached. It was a goblin officer, HP 160-180. Suho gritted his teeth and pulled out the dagger. It hurts, he thought, but it still feels much better than being powerless. Then he recklessly charged forward again. He took a running start and threw the dagger. The dagger flew skewering goblins as it went, finally embedding itself in the goblin officer. It seemed a bit weak. After that move, Suho's eyes lit up with excitement. He yelled, "Awesome!" and charged back into the fray. The goblins were numerous, but they were just small fry. Suho fought his way through, giving them no room to breathe. The more he fought, the more frenzied he became, but he also took a fair amount of damage. His HP bar kept dropping now at 53,180, but Suho wasn't scared. He charged in again, wildly swinging his dagger. System notification. You have acquired the skill, Perseverance, Leviparson 1. Notice, you have leveled up. Notice, you have leveled up. Scene change, sometime later. The area was quiet again. The ground was littered with the corpses of goblins. It was clear Suho had thrashed them all. Even the goblin officer was beaten beyond recognition. After the wild fight, Suho sat down, panting. System notification. Time remaining 0 hours. You have completed the quest. Beru exclaimed in amazement. Oh, truly extraordinary. This servant never doubted the young lord's ability to overcome this trial. Suho said wryly, Gee, thanks. You really didn't help me at all, did you? The system chimed in again. You have received a reward for completing the quest. Do you want to view the reward, accept, decline? Do you even have to ask accept? Suho replied. You will receive the following reward. Runestone Shadow Extraction. A runestone? Our protagonist asked, confused. If I use this, I'll learn the shadow extraction skill. Beru thought, Oh, the young lord is about to use shadow extraction. Suho continued. Come to think of it, I think I also got a perseverance skill while I was fighting. It seems that after awakening, besides leveling up, I can also acquire skills. He then lifted his shirt, showing off his abs. The stab wound from before was completely healed. Skill Perseverance. Level 1 passive. Mana cost none. You possess unparalleled resilience. Physical defense increases by 20%. Suho jumped down and said, Compared to before I awakened, I feel like a glitched character now. My wounds even healed thanks to leveling up. Beru explained, This level-up mechanism was created based on the system His Majesty once used. It is a system designed to support and ensure the safe growth of the young lord. Our protagonist thought, So I thought I was just an unawakened nobody, but it turns out I'm the shadow young lord born with a silver spoon. If this were a story, the title would be something like that. He then said, All right, accept reward. Runestone Shadow Extraction. You can absorb the skill by breaking the stone. Without wasting time, Suho immediately crushed the runestone without hesitation. System notification. You have acquired the skill, Shadow Extraction. Skill Shadow Extraction active. Mana cost none. Summon mana from a body that no longer has life and turn it into a shadow soldier. The failure rate of extraction is proportional to the target's stats and the time since death. Number of shadow soldiers that can be extracted 03. Create shadow soldiers? Suho asked, bewildered. Beru replied, That is the skill used to turn corpses into soldiers like myself. Shadow extraction is the quintessential power that defines the current Dark Monarch Sung Jinwoo. Like a necromancer, huh? Our protagonist mused. But if I want to create soldiers, I have to defeat them first. So I can only control those weaker than me. I heard that summoning skills aren't very popular in the hunter industry. System notification. You can use shadow extraction on this target. Suho shouted, Shadow extraction. System notification. Please assign a command for the shadow extraction skill. Do I have to come up with a separate command for this skill too? What a pain, Suho muttered. He stood there deep in thought for a long moment, then shouted, Well, short and sweet is best. Arise. Following his command, a dark shadow slowly emerged from beside the goblin's corpse. Then a bluish-green hand with sharp claws rose up. Poof, surprise, old lady. 3 goblin shadows formed, but they looked kind of dumb. System notification. Extraction successful. Shadow Goblin, level 1 normal grade. So these are shadow soldiers. They look more ordinary than I thought, Suho said, bewildered. Beru explained, Normally newly summoned shadow soldiers are a bit weaker than when they were alive. They got smaller too. How much weaker are they? Our protagonist asked. Just a little, Beru replied. Then Suho said, irritably, And what's more, the system says they'll disappear after a day. Impossible, Beru exclaimed. Don't you have a skill called shadow storage? Nope, don't have that, our protagonist replied. Beru's spirits sank. I thought it was because your intelligence stat and level affect your shadow powers. But anyway, this is still a great skill. It's a very cool and worthwhile skill to have, really. I know you don't have to be so sad about it, Suho said. Then his empty stomach rumbled. Oh, come to think of it, I haven't eaten in 2 days. Beru, how do we get out of here? You can leave at any time with the Shadow Dungeon key, my lord, Beru replied. All right then, let's go get something to eat first, Suho said. Scene change. A little while later. Suho has left the Shadow Dungeon and is now enjoying a meal. As he eats, he praises, I never thought hospital food could be this good. Beru at his side spoke up. Young lord, I will now explain what you need to do next. You have a total of 3 missions. First, you must protect Earth from the monsters of the outer world. So, I'll go into dungeons and hunt monsters, right? Suho asked. Correct. You will hunt monsters to level up and become stronger. The stronger you are, the safer Earth will be, just like what His Majesty did. Second, you must find Madame Heiin at all costs. Is there any way to find my mother's location? Suho asked. If you hunt the monsters from the outer world, you're bound to find some clues, Beru replied. So either way, I have to go into dungeons, our protagonist said. And the third mission, Beru continued. This one is very important. You must restore my power. I can't believe I'm only at the lowest rank. Young lord, I really want to show you my true power. So how do I restore your power? Suho asked. I can absorb a portion of a target's mana and consciousness by consuming enemies, but since I became a shadow soldier, that method no longer works. And now I can't think of any other way since I can't replenish my mana from His Majesty anymore. In short, I just need to eat something that contains mana. So it still comes down to going into dungeons, huh? Suho asked. Scene change. A little while later. Suho has finished his meal. He stands up and says confidently, All right then, let's get ready. You need to become a licensed hunter to enter dungeons, so first we must go to the Hunter Association to have your mana measured, Beru said. Suho thought, mana measurement. I'm an awakened who gets stronger by leveling up. I wonder what rank I'll be. What if I get S rank? But his hopes were dashed. The staff member announced, Your mana level is 46. You are an E rank awakened. Hearing this, Suho's face fell. He quietly left the place. Beru spoke up. I've heard that a hunter's rank is determined by their mana level. Young lord, your level must be this low because you focus too much on raising your strength stat. You don't have to try and comfort me like that, Suho replied. It only makes me feel worse. My shadow powers are in this state, and now my rank is like this too. Can an E-ranker like me really protect Earth? But you can still level up, Beru said. Suho continued. I heard that raid parties rarely recruit E-rank and F-rank hunters. This is going to make entering dungeons very difficult. Suddenly, Suho's eyes lit up as if he had an idea. Ah, there is still one way. In dungeon raids, there's always a clear division of labor. The attack team raids the dungeon, the collection team follows to gather monster corpses, and the mining team stays in the rear to mine resources. Except for the attack team, the collection and mining teams still accept E-rank hunters. In other words, even as an E-rank, I can still enter dungeons. Scene change. A little while later at a mining site. Suho is now wearing a miner's outfit. He sighs. Thank you for introducing me here. I just awakened, so you're the only other awakened I know. Lim Tae-gyu introduces himself. Lim Tae-gyu, assistant professor at the National University of Arts Art Department. E-rank awakened. As he works, Suho says, I'm glad to have an awakened senior right beside me. Thanks to you, I'm able to work in a dungeon like this. Suddenly, Lim spoke up. Hey, Suho. I'm sorry about the accident at the university. I was the only awakened there, but I got scared and ran away alone. I'm really sorry I couldn't do anything back then. Suho replied, bewildered. Please raise your head. You're an E-rank awakened just like me. The Hunter Association advises E-rankers like us to flee if we encounter monsters. You were just doing what you were told, right? Lim seemed shocked by this. He quickly yelled, You're E-rank too. Yes, our protagonist replied. My mana level is 46. It's pretty low, huh? Even for an E-rank, that's way too low. Lim was even more astonished. What, your mana level is even lower than mine? He thought to himself. No way. I saw him fighting monsters on the rooftop when I was running away. Did I see it wrong? Lim continued bewildered. Wow, an E-rank hunter fighting monsters and surviving. That's even more impressive than usual. Beru, unable to contain himself, chimed in from the side. Of course, he is my young lord, not some commoner. Lim suddenly turned his head. Their eyes met. The young man fell to the ground in fear and screamed, monster! Why did you suddenly appear like that? Suho asked. Young lord, right now you are as weak as an ant larva, Beru replied. So I must stay by your side to protect you to feel at ease. Lim asked fearfully. What is that thing? Did you awaken as a summoner? I guess so, our protagonist replied casually. Not every E-rank gets a skill like this, Lim said, even more surprised. You're really lucky. As for me, I have an extremely good running skill. Hearing this, Suho grinned. Oh, that explains why you're so good at running away. Hearing those words, which felt like salt in a wound, Lim became withdrawn, hugging himself with a sad face. Hey, I was just kidding, Suho said. As expected of the young lord, Beru said. With just one sentence, you've crushed his spirit. Our protagonist turned away and thought, come to think of it, this is my first time in a dungeon that isn't the shadow dungeon. The attack team is haunting monsters up ahead, right? Scene change deep inside the dungeon. A monster lies on the ground impaled and dead. A black-haired man says, this dungeon is really empty. A brown-haired man replies, I knew it. We've only seen werewolves so far. Wolf pelts don't sell for much, but sometimes you can get magic stones from the corpses, so we can't be lazy. Don't be so discouraged. Once you're in a dungeon, you never know what might happen. Suddenly, someone shouts, Leader, there seems to be something down this path. The leader grins. See, I told you so. They all enter a place that looks like a giant clock face. They murmur among themselves, bewildered. Where are we? What are these ruins? Should we go back and call for backup? My detection skill isn't picking up any monsters. There's probably nothing here. But what's the purpose of this place? That's what we're here to find out. Who knows, maybe this place is hiding a hidden treasure, not a boss. And just as they hoped, in the center, a mysterious sword was stuck deep in the ground. Holy shit! It's a real treasure, guys, the leader exclaimed. Wow, is that a weapon? We hit the jackpot, boys. Let's examine it carefully, but it looks seriously awesome. Treasures like this always come with traps, so be careful. Suddenly, a man from the back stepped forward. Everyone step back, let me pull it out. The leader said in alarm, Wait, Kim Young-jun, I already told you to be careful with treasures like this. But Kim Young-jun wasn't afraid. I'm a C-rank tank after all. If there really is a trap, I can handle it. He then grabbed the sword. The moment he touched it, the sword emitted a mysterious power. A look of terror appeared on Kim Young-jun's face. Holy crap, what is this? He exclaimed. Suddenly, his surroundings turned into a sea of blood. Monstrous teeth rose up as if to devour him. Then from within the sea of blood, terrifying eyes slowly opened. But Kim Young-jun still recklessly pulled the sword out. Looks like there's no trap, the leader said, relieved. Hey, Kim Young-jun. But at that moment, Kim Young-jun seemed to have transformed into a monster. He let out a guttural growl, his teeth sharp. Who? Next time be more careful, the leader said, annoyed. But before he could finish, Kim Young-jun swung the sword and beheaded him. The rest of the team watched in horror, petrified. Kim Young-jun, now like a demon, roared, Who dares to covet the sword of the beast monarch? Destroy all who dare to enter the beast monarch's territory. Kill, kill, kill. Immediately after, Kim Young-jun chased after the others with his sword, who were now fleeing for their lives. Anyone who ran too slowly was instantly skewered. Kim Young-jun had now completely transformed into a demon. Glowing eyes appeared on his face, and his mouth resembled that of a rabid dog. He relentlessly slaughtered his former comrades one by one. Scene changed back with the protagonist at the mining site. The people around stood dumbfounded. Huh, what's that? There's a summoning skill like that. It turned out that our protagonist Suho had summoned his 3 goblins to mine. They were working with surprising enthusiasm. Lim thought in bewilderment, I thought summoners could only summon 1 or 2 creatures at a time, but this guy can call 3 at once. And if you count that talking demon, that's 4. Isn't Suho's power a bit unusual? Suho, on the other hand, was grinning as if he'd struck gold. Now I can summon up to 3 at once. Plus, if there's a corpse, I can even use shadow extraction. I can just use the corpses in the shadow dungeon. Luckily, these guys are willing to work without complaining. He then turned and said, "Shadow extraction seems pretty good, just like you said, Beru." Beru replied, "Young lord, please don't praise me after making them do such menial tasks, but weren't you here to level up?" "It's because of the Hunter Association's rules," our protagonist said. "An E-rank hunter can't enter a dungeon alone. I heard the measurement devices have been glitching ever since they started ranking hunters, so I'm planning to get reevaluated after I level up. You also remember our third mission, right? I'm going to work on it now." "You mean about restoring my power?" Beru asked, confused. "You said you could recover by eating things that contain mana, right? That includes magic stones from the ground that are imbued with mana, doesn't it?" Beru exclaimed in astonishment. "Young lord, are you planning to—" "Since you haven't found any magic stones, just make do with eating these rocks from the ground for now," our protagonist continued. Beru seemed a bit bitter about it, but he had no choice. Suddenly, Beru panicked as if he'd detected something. He urgently shouted, "Young lord, I just sensed the presence of a monarch." "A monarch?" Suho asked, bewildered. "You mean my dad?" "No, my lord," Beru replied. "It's not just a title of monarch. If it were his majesty, my power would have been restored instantly. This strange scent. Could it be—" Meanwhile, the other miners heard a strange sound coming from deep within the dungeon. They murmured anxiously, "What was that sound? It's coming from the direction of the attack team." From the darkness, the glowing red eyes of beasts appeared. They slowly approached the miners. They were iron-fanged wolves. The miners screamed in terror. "Monsters! Why are there monsters here? Everyone run!" One of the miners swung his axe wildly at a wolf, but the monster lunged forward and bit his axe, shattering it in one bite. The man, terrified, stammered, "Help me!" Suddenly, Suho lunged from behind, striking the iron-fanged wolf. "I'll buy you some time. Get out of here," our protagonist shouted. The man thanked him and fled, leaving Suho with the pack of red wolves. Our protagonist glanced around and thought, "Their names are Orange, which means they're on the same level as the D-rank flame zombies I fought at the university. I can handle them on my own. If it's just me." Behind him, Lim appeared. This time he chose to stay instead of running. "You should run too," Suho said. "Suho, are you planning to fight them alone?" Lim replied with a determined face. "No way. I'm not running away this time." "Suit yourself," our protagonist smiled. "If you see me in trouble, then you can help." He then commanded, "Protect him, goblins." Suho opened his system inventory, which contained various miscellaneous weapons. He thought, "The goblin weapons I got from the Shadow Dungeon. At least they're better than a pickaxe." Lim was astonished again. "He can summon weapons too. What kind of summoning skill does he have?" Immediately after, Suho crouched down, gathering his strength, then shot forward toward the iron-fanged wolves. The red wolves also charged aggressively, opening their fearsome maws. But as soon as one opened its mouth, Suho split it in two. System notification. "You have killed an iron-fanged wolf." Behind him, Lim was utterly amazed. The goblins grinned with pride at their master's strength. Then Suho shouted, "Arise!" and pointed his hand at the fallen iron-fanged wolf. A dark shadow began to rise from its corpse. In front, two more iron-fanged wolves lunged. As one was summoned, another would disappear. One of the three goblins vanished, causing the remaining two to panic. As soon as it was summoned, the shadow iron-fanged wolf lunged forward to aid our protagonist in battle. Witnessing this, Beru was moved. "Oh my heavens, my young lord. He has already grown accustomed to fighting using the power of shadows." Suho thought, "Extraction and summoning don't cost any mana. If I can get more mana and increase the number of extractions, I could create an entire army for myself. Dad, in that case, I'll have to diligently recruit more soldiers." As he finished his thought, he stabbed another iron-fanged wolf with his dagger. System notification. "You have killed an iron-fanged wolf. After killing it, Suho immediately summoned it. Arise." And just like that, another goblin vanished. The last one was still confused about what was happening as its two comrades disappeared. One moment it was digging enthusiastically, the next it was gone. The poor goblin became very bewildered. Even though it was a summon, it still had feelings. It cried its eyes out. System notification. "You have killed an iron-fanged wolf." Notice, level up. Goodbye, you adorable goblin. As soon as he killed another iron-fanged wolf, Suho immediately summoned it. Suddenly, Lim called out, Suho, don't you have the physical abilities of an E-rank hunter, and on top of that you can even tame dead monsters? Suho scratched his head and thought, right, I got a little too excited. How am I supposed to explain this now? He replied, well, I am an E-rank. Lim pondered. Could Suho be an impersonator? One of those people who lie about their rank? Suddenly, a new quest notification appeared. Quest notification, emergency quest, annihilate the enemy. Nearby creatures want to kill the player. Annihilate them all and ensure your safety. Number of enemies to be killed: 1. Number of enemies killed: 0. Suho turned his head toward the dark dungeon and thought, a new quest I only need to kill 1, but the only thing around here is the lycan I just killed. Or maybe it's hiding somewhere. Suddenly the sound of footsteps approached. When it saw our protagonist, it stopped. Lim, though confused, went forward to investigate. You're from the attack team, right? You're a lifesaver. Let me tell you, a monster just appeared out of nowhere and scared me to death. Before he could finish, Suho realized something was wrong. Sir, wait. It's dangerous, he yelled. As Lim, chattered on his face, turned to horror as he looked ahead. He saw the monster raise its sword to strike. It was Kim Yong-jun, the one who had turned into a monster earlier. Just as the sword came down, Suho managed to pull Lim back in time. This guy had some serious plot armor. Wolf-pack attack! Suho shouted in alarm. The 3 summoned iron-fanged wolves immediately lunged into battle. Suho supported Lim and started running. Another hunter who's lost his mind is turning into a monster, a new trend or something. The color of his name, possessed lycanthrope, is red. This is the dangerous type. I already experienced how strong a red name can be at the university. The best course of action right now is to escape with Mr. Lim. However, Suho turned and said, Beru, its name isn't monarch like my dad's, right? That is correct, Beru replied. Although it emits the same energy, it is much weaker than the title of monarch. But that doesn't mean you can face it in your current state. That's enough for me, our protagonist replied. Young lord, don't tell me you're planning to, Beru said, bewildered. Suho pulled out all the goblin weapons he had collected earlier. You said the system always supports me to ensure I level up at a steady pace, right? If it gave me a quest, that means I still have a chance to win. More importantly, if I want to see my parents again, I have to get stronger as fast as possible. So right here, right now, I will defeat that red-named monster and get stronger quickly. Faced with Suho's firm and decisive action, Beru was impressed. Young lord, despite constantly facing countless daunting challenges, you never run away. Within this weak form, I can see the shadow of His Majesty in him. Its true form is a sword. If you sever its arm and separate it from the host, it will no longer be able to move. Really? Suho said, surprised. The possessed lycanthrope had become completely berserk. It opened its massive maw and charged straight at Suho. Immediately, Suho's shadow soldiers also charged forward to attack. They all opened their mouths wide and growled. One bit down hard on the sword in its hand. Watching his shadow soldiers fight, Suho exclaimed in surprise, Oh, they're moving now that I'm using my mana? Shadow soldiers are spiritual beings, Beru replied, not surprised. So as long as you have mana, they can be resurrected. What do you think of the power of shadow soldiers? At the same time, the once ferocious shadow soldiers suddenly became weak. One by one, they were cut down. Our protagonist turned to Beru, slightly disappointed. All right, they're so strong, huh? Is that all they've got? Beru, sweating and helpless, replied, Well, that's because the young lord's power is still weak. Before he could finish, a voice cut in. How can an insignificant insect like you wield the power of the Dark Monarch? What, it can talk? Suho said in surprise. Beru, furious, shouted, You bastard! How dare you call the descendant of the Dark Monarch an insect? You must have a death wish. He laughed maniacally. Ha ha, the enemy of the Beast Monarch, the descendant of the Dark Monarch. I never expected we would meet here. As he finished speaking, a terrifying power shot towards him, but he was no pushover and easily dodged it. Suho drew his weapon and said with a confident smile, Shouldn't we test each other's strength first? You're a real idiot. Immediately after, Suho unleashed a barrage of skills. The monster frantically dodged, leaning left and right, up and down. Watching its agility, Suho said excitedly, Just as expected from a red-named monster. It can easily block this attack. In that case, I'll have to play the quantity over quality game. With that, he used his telekinetic power to lift the weapons lying on the ground. The monster howled like a mad dog. Then Suho directed the weapons to fly at lightning speed towards it. "Surprise, bastard!" The monster swung its sword wildly, stumbling around to avoid the incoming weapons. Watching this masterful display, Beru couldn't help but think with pride. So this is how he uses the ruler's authority. This must be the young lord's innate talent. His proud thoughts were interrupted by the sound of shattering weapons. In a flash, the monster had broken all of them and let out another excited roar. Suho was now sweating, terrified. Even the last weapon in his hand was shattered. Damn it! Just one hit and my goblin weapons are like this. Do I have no other way to fight back? At the same time, the monster, enraged relentlessly, attacked Suho. He didn't know what to do but to keep dodging. But his luck ran out, and Suho finally got hit. He thought in pain, "If I get hit one more time, I'll die. If this drags on, my chances of winning will become slimmer and slimmer." Having landed a hit on Suho, the monster became incredibly excited. It roared, "How long are you going to keep dodging like a coward?" The previous Dark Monarch was also a coward who only knew how to hide behind his shadow soldiers. "You're exactly like that, bastard." Messing with him was one thing, but insulting his father was another. Suho smirked. Insulting someone's parents is a bad move. But thinking it over, our protagonist felt a bit discouraged. Even though he's provoking me, I'm still not confident I can beat him. Damn it. If only I had more power. Suddenly, Suho recalled a conversation he had with Beru before entering the dungeon. He had asked, "I want to ask something. If my seal has been lifted, why hasn't the power I had when I was climbing the tower returned?" Beru had replied, "The young lord's power was sealed when you were a child. Currently, you can be considered to be in the process of rediscovering that power. If you regain your strength, you will surely be able to defeat all kinds of monsters. However, remember that it was just a dream, not reality. Think of it as a test to see how well you can control your innate talent. Your physical strength will disappear whether you pass the test or not. So it was just a game. Your experience in the tower was not in vain. Try to remember the feeling and your fighting spirit." Back in the present, Suho thought, "I definitely remember that feeling. In the tower, I mainly fought with my fists. If I could get those steel gauntlets back." Shadow soldiers are spiritual beings, so as long as you have mana, they can be resurrected. Think carefully. I can change Beru's shape at will. If that's the case. With that thought, our protagonist shouted, "Arise!" Immediately, 2 shadow soldiers appeared. This action made the monster scoff. It swung its sword forward and yelled, "That trick again! Don't you realize that trick doesn't work on me? I'll cut off your head first." One of the shadow soldiers grinned with a hidden meaning. It slowly faded its form, beginning to change. Only wisps of blue smoke remained swirling around it. It seemed to merge as one with Suho's arm. A terrifying power wrapped around him. At the same time, the possessed lycanthrope swung its sword powerfully towards our protagonist. A brilliant light flashed. The monster stood there grinning, but it had celebrated too soon. Not only was Suho unharmed, but he was standing right in front of it, protected by a shield. Our protagonist said coldly, "An iron-fanged wolf, truly as hard as your name suggests. But for me, bring it on." Immediately, a notification appeared. Black steel armor Raiken's Fang, Love 1 gauntlet form. Notice, the skill Shadow Extraction has leveled up. Skill Shadow Extraction, Love 2. Form change, Shadow Manipulation. Mana cost none. You can change the shape of your shadow soldiers. Suho stretched slightly, and the iron-fanged wolf was sent flying. The pressure it exuded was immense. Suho said excitedly, "With this, fighting will become more feasible." Immediately after, Suho pushed off the ground and launched a barrage of attacks at the lycanthrope. This sudden powerful change left the monster dumbfounded, and it wasn't the only one who felt this change. Even Beru felt a chill run down his spine. My goodness, the young lord can turn his shadow soldiers into weapons. His Majesty only reached the level of infinity to be able to freely control shadows at will. However, the young lord has only just learned the basics. His current level can only create an ant larva, yet he has learned the next stage without being taught. His combat sense. He possesses the ruler's authority, and now he can even use the dark arts at the same time. Meanwhile, Suho was reveling in the fight. After toying with the monster like a dog, he delivered a critical blow. A terrifying power shot towards the lycanthrope, causing it to turn and flee in terror. But there was no escape. A powerful punch landed straight in its stomach. Boom! A massive explosion erupted. From behind the smoke and dust came the kanjiao of the lycanthrope. Seeing that it wasn't enough, our protagonist continued his assault. The weapons on the ground began to move. In an instant, everything was lifted off the ground, and under Suho's control, they all shot towards the monster. By now it was probably scared to death. And then our protagonist successfully severed the lycanthrope's arm. The sword fell with it. Suho slid to a stop in front of it, his eyes filled with cold hatred sharp enough to hurt any weak heart just by looking. Even Beru had to admit it. The young lord is a genius. As expected, the monster was defeated painfully. Our protagonist, also tired, said, I was worried because it was a red-named monster, but it wasn't unbeatable. Beru replied with a proud smirk. I never doubted the young lord's victory for a single moment. Such a blatant lie, Suho said casually. But besides that, this fight taught me a new way to battle. This result isn't too bad. We should check out the rewards. He then reached out and opened the system to check. A notification popped up. You have received a reward for completing the quest. Check your reward, yes, no. Do you even have to ask? Of course, yes, our protagonist said. Quest reward. You will receive the following rewards. Runestone Tempest Slash. Notice. You have learned the skill, Tempest Slash. Skill, Tempest Slash. Love. Router 1. Active. Mana cost 50. The fury of a raging storm has condensed on your sword. You can attack multiple enemies at once. After reading, our protagonist thought, oh, a skill. This is the reward I really wanted. I have an intuition on how to use this skill. Let's give it a try. Immediately, a blue aura emanated from Suho. He slowly approached the sword left on the ground. Let's see about my weapon, he said. The sword seemed to sense his intention and thought resentfully, damn it, to think I would fall to someone of the Dark Monarch's bloodline. What a disgrace. But this isn't the end. Human greed is bottomless. At the same time, our protagonist's hand drew closer to the sword. This made the sword even more excited. That's right. The moment you touch me, your own ambition will devour you. But poof! Surprise, old lady. Our protagonist grasped the sword without any harm. You have obtained the item, Raiken's Fang. Looking at the beautiful sword in his hand, our protagonist said happily, looks much better than a goblin's weapon. The sword thought in confusion, a human that I can't control actually exists. Did you inherit the power of the beast monarch? All right, let's see what this skill is all about. The system also displayed a notification. Blessing of Kandiaru. The blessing of Kandiaru has granted you a special spell. Under the influence of Kandiaru's blessing, you are privileged to enjoy a healthy and strong body. Permanent effect, longevity. All diseases, poisons, and status effects are healed, and rest will enhance recovery. Then our protagonist swung the sword forcefully. Immediately, the ground in front of him shattered into pieces. The scene was terrifying. The Tempest Slash skill had been activated. But that wasn't enough to satisfy him. He approached a large rock and swung at it again. Rocks exploded and flew everywhere. Using up all my mana in one go is a bit troublesome, but I quite like its destructive power, Suho said with satisfaction. Your response to harnessing the power of darkness is still too superficial, Beru continued. The power of darkness is 100,000 times more amazing. Suddenly, Lim, who had fainted, woke up. Suho awkwardly hid the sword behind his back and said sheepishly, Oh, you're awake. Lim, confused, held his head and asked weakly, Suho, what just happened? It's a long story, Suho replied casually. Do you want to hear it on the way out? And then, when Lim suddenly noticed the corpse of the lycanthrope right in front of him, he was completely shocked. His jaw dropped and he screamed, What the hell is this? Scene change outside the dungeon. Perhaps after the recent events in the dungeon, this place had become much more noisy and chaotic. Our protagonist had already brought Lim outside to rest. He then stood up and said, I'm going to check if there are any other survivors in the dungeon. Lim, still in shock, replied, Okay. You go ahead. With that, our protagonist headed towards the dungeon entrance to go back inside, leaving Lim alone with his thoughts. E rank and a summoner. He should have been just another nobody in the minor leagues. How can Suho be so strong? Well, I guess that's not too important right now. In front of Lim were the members of the team who had luckily escaped. They were all completely stunned. Don't worry, I'm not hurt at all. How could this happen? But the important thing is that Suho saved everyone here. Meanwhile, as soon as Suho entered the dungeon, he encountered more ferocious iron-fanged wolves. But now that he could use more skills, what was there to be afraid of? In a flash, our protagonist easily defeated them. You have defeated an iron-fanged wolf. You have defeated an iron-fanged wolf. Notice level up. After that warm-up, our protagonist raised his hand to his shoulder, tiredly saying, "There are still a lot of wolf-type monsters inside. But they can give us experience points, so you shouldn't waste this opportunity," Beru replied. "By the way," our protagonist said helplessly, "why did the power of your attack suddenly decrease?" The sword replied annoyedly, "Do I look like someone who would willingly cooperate with the bloodline of the Dark Monarch?" Item Raiken's Fang. Rarity unknown. Type sword. Attack +30. A sword made from the fang of Raiken, king of beasts. The spirit of Raiken resides within this sword, and those with a weak constitution may have their bodies possessed if they use it. Effect: Contempt for the weak. Puts a designated target into a state of fear for 1 minute. All stats decrease by 50%. Effect: Critical wound. 15% chance to deal double critical damage. Beru also chimed in sarcastically, "An ability that only works against those weaker than you. How shameful." "Shameful?" the sword retorted. "Is there any hunter foolish enough to choose a target stronger than themselves?" Beru, not wanting to lose, said angrily, "The young lord defeated you, a relatively strong enemy. That's because—" And so the verbal sparring between a sword and an ant continued with no end in sight. Our protagonist thought with a sigh, first a talking insect, now a talking sword. This is too chaotic. And so he ventured deeper inside. He went through every area and corner of the dungeon checking. Before him was a mysterious cave. In the center was a large arena surrounded by many corpses lying on the ground. It seemed they had died a gruesome death. Our protagonist looked on with a hint of pity for their short lives. "They're all dead," Beru exclaimed. "I simply eliminated those who dared to trespass on my territory," the sword said confidently. "My mission is to protect the sanctuary of the beast monarch." Suho, annoyed, gripped the sword tightly and plunged it into the ground. "You should shut up for a while," he said. A notification appeared. "Shadow extraction can be used on this target." "Shadow extraction can be used on humans too," our protagonist said, confused. "Any corpse, regardless of species, can be turned into your soldier, young lord," Beru explained. Suho then held out his hand towards the unfortunate corpses and slowly lifted them. Beru, confused by this action, asked, "Aren't you going to use shadow extraction?" "No," Suho replied coldly. "Making them fight even after they've died is just another form of torment." Hearing this, Beru didn't know what to say. "Young lord." At the same time, our protagonist carried their bodies away from the center of the sanctuary and laid them down. He then continued, "Beru, you said this place is the sanctuary of a monarch, right?" "Yes, my lord." "My father is one of them, but these people, are they the monarchs he destroyed? Who are they really? Is this related to the Itarim?" "You can think of the Itarim as His Majesty's current enemies and the monarchs as his former enemies. Including His Majesty, there were a total of 9 monarchs. Your father, the great Sung Jinwoo, is the king of the dead, the Dark Monarch. There was also the king of beasts, the Beast Monarch, the queen of insects, the Plague Monarch, the king of monstrous humanoids, the Iron Body Monarch, the king of demonic beasts, the White Flame Monarch, the king of giants, the Monarch of the Beginning, the king of the Frost Monarch, the king of the spiritual beings, the Transfiguration Monarch, and finally, the king of berserk dragons, the Monarch of Destruction. Although all 9 monarchs possessed immense power when the other 8 invaded Earth, they were all defeated by His Majesty. Hearing this, our protagonist shivered slightly and asked, "My father, did that—" "That is correct," Beru replied. "The Dark Monarch is the enemy who killed my master, the Beast Monarch." At this, the sword chimed in, "You who carry the blood of the Dark Monarch. If my power wasn't diminished, I would have torn you to shreds and fed your corpse to the wolves." It's not that I don't understand your feelings, our protagonist replied calmly. My father probably fought the monarchs to protect Earth, and you simply want to protect this place from invaders. Both sides acted to protect what was important to them. But one thing bothers me, you think you have to fight me just because I carry the blood of the Dark Monarch. If protecting this place is your mission, then isn't it foolish to be hostile towards my father, the one who defeated the Beast Monarch? What did you say? The sword said angrily. Suho continued. I want to meet my father and mother whom I can't see because of the invaders from the outer world. As long as I can achieve that goal, I'm willing to use any power, even the most evil. If the Itarim begin their invasion, this place won't be safe from the chaos either, right? If you help me, I'll help you protect this place. Cooperate with someone who carries the blood of the Dark Monarch, the sword said, annoyed. Suho gripped the sword firmly and said with determination, What do you think about the beast and the dark becoming one? Scene change outside the dungeon. The blue sky and white clouds were familiar. Nearby was a bustling cafe with people coming and going. Inside, a group of reporters was interviewing Lim about the attack team being completely wiped out in the D-rank dungeon yesterday. Can you tell us the details, Mr. Lim Tae-gyu, you who survived yesterday's event? Lim smiled confidently. Oh, of course I can. I'll tell you everything. In his mind, he thought, even though he's E-rank, I'm sure Suho's treatment will improve if he gets recognition. This is a good opportunity for me to repay him. And so that very night, an article appeared on the internet. The details of the article were about an E-rank hunter who saved the hunters in the dungeon entirely with his own power. The article included interviews with witnesses who saw the E-rank hunter heroically charge into the horde of monsters to save people, and the number he saved was countless. A young man who had just finished reading the article found it quite interesting. Isn't it time we found some new recruits? This was the office of the Dark Adventurers Guild Management Team 2. That's right, someone said excitedly. The reinforcement team is furious about the lack of support. I think we should recruit a few more E-rank hunters. The team leader, scrolling through his phone, said, I just sent everyone a candidate. What do you all think of this person? This man was Lee Hyun-ho, the manager of the Dark Adventurers Guild Team 2. A curious colleague clicked on the shared article and mumbled, Let's see. An E-rank hunter who evacuated the mining team in a D-rank dungeon while fighting monsters and brought out the injured members of the attack team. After reading, everyone was completely shocked, their jaws dropped. An E-rank hunter did that. The team leader, not surprised by their reaction, smiled confidently. If a big guild like us snags that kid, won't it create a sensation? A potential E-rank hero. Immediately another person said, I'll contact him right away. A little while later, after calling Suho, there was the sound of a phone being slammed down on the table. The unusual behavior of his colleague caught the team leader's attention. He approached and asked, How did it go? Sung Suho must be thrilled to be scouted by the Dark Adventurers Guild, especially since he's only an E-rank. The young man, a mix of sadness and confusion, stammered, Yes, but he refused. Hearing this, the team leader was shocked. What? He refused the Dark Adventurers Guild? Are you kidding me? A big guild like us got rejected by an E-rank hunter. He said he has no intention of joining any guild, the other person said timidly. A hunter who doesn't join any guild, does he think he's S-rank or something? Well, maybe he'll call us back later. He'll soon realize the seriousness of not joining a guild. On the other end of the line, Suho stood looking at his phone and sighed. Ever since I got back from the dungeon, I've been getting a ton of offers from guilds. Many people are thirsty for you, young lord, Beru added. But Suho wasn't interested. They just want to hire me to carry things and find stuff. What's with all the competition? He said indifferently. The reason is simple. Joining a guild would only hinder my leveling, so there's no reason for me to join. He then turned to the sword and asked, Can we talk now, Raiken's Fang? Our protagonist then recalled his conversation with Raiken's Fang in the dungeon. So how about it, the Dark and the Beast? Let's become a unified alliance. Raiken's Fang had thought, What's with this guy saying something so absurd? However, if we and the Dark are no longer enemies but allies, I have one condition. Take me to another sanctuary of the Beast Monarch. Thinking back, our protagonist asked, So you know the way there? If it's a sanctuary of the Beast Monarch, I can find it no matter how far, Raiken's Fang replied. However, the gate leading to it has disappeared. Humans call this phenomenon a dungeon break. Hearing this, Suho asked in surprise, So that sanctuary also turned into a dungeon field. A dungeon field is a wasteland created after a dungeon break, turning abandoned gates into habitats for various monsters. Our protagonist then reread the message from his uncle. "Hey, it's me. I have to go out for a few days. If you don't hear from me, don't worry. Remember, the message your uncle sent you means that place still exists in this world." With that thought, our protagonist dressed smartly and left with a determined look. "All right, then. Let's head to that place called the Sanctuary." Scene change. A gloomy mountain deep in the outskirts. Our protagonist has arrived. Standing before a gate, he asked bewilderedly, "Are you sure this is the right place?" "I'm sure," Raiken's Fang replied. "But this place is right in an area occupied by some guild. Trespassing on private property is illegal. I think this belongs to the Hyena Guild. I heard that guild is full of gangsters. We'll definitely run into some thugs if we go in." Beru, annoyed, chimed in, "Instead of listening to that thing, wouldn't it be better for you to focus on leveling up and increasing your strength? What are you planning to do?" Suho immediately unleashed his power and said coldly, "Getting ready to go in, of course." A terrifying blue energy emanated from his hand. "What about the Hyena Guild?" Beru asked worriedly. "I'll deal with them right now," Suho replied calmly. With that, the power from our protagonist's hand shot towards the surveillance camera outside the gate. He clenched his fist and the camera shattered into tiny pieces. Looking at the result of his actions, our protagonist said, "There are no more worries about being spotted. The way you handle things without any hesitation is just like His Majesty," Beru said, surprised. Without further delay, our protagonist slowly walked into the territory. As he walked, he mumbled, "Are dungeon fields usually this foggy?" Beru explained. "This fog is magic from the outer world. It breaks down the spatial barrier and creates rifts in the world. That's why the sanctuary we want to reach drifted through the rifts and came to Earth. The beings from the outer world are also taking advantage of this to drill a hole in space and send their troops. The stronger a person's magic power, the more easily they are affected by these spatial movements, just like me." Hearing this, Suho smiled excitedly. "So it will take some time for the strong ones to get here, right? All right then, I just need to level up." At that moment, a horde of monsters appeared. They grinned menacingly at our protagonist. The gorilla-like monster was from the Clawed Monster Army, and the black bear was a shadow raisin. Their appearance excited Raiken's Fang. "Finally, it's time to show off my power." Our protagonist was also quite surprised by the sword's excitement. "Oh, you're pretty battle-hungry, aren't you? But I won't be using you as a weapon." "What?" the sword exclaimed, annoyed. Our protagonist, unfazed, replied confidently, "Because I've already figured out how to fight. It's one of the basics from the tutorial that I've memorized." With that, Suho charged forward. His attacks were stronger than ever. Punching, clawing, kicking, he relentlessly attacked the monsters. The strategy was to use the ruler's authority for mid- and long-range attacks and use combined weapons to break their formation. The Tempest Slash skill was activated and sword auras flew through the air like a real matrix. "This is my playground now. I'll take you all on by myself, and then I'll gather more troops with shadow extraction. This is my fighting style." Beru was amazed. "Incredible, my great young lord. You're so cool." Even Raiken's Fang was stunned by his supreme skills. So, this is the powers of someone from the bloodline of the Dark Monarch. The more enemies there are, the longer the battle drags on. He becomes stronger by reusing those he has killed. If this continues, we'll lose. After a while of fighting, the number of Suho's shadow soldiers had increased significantly. He had acquired the souls of the Clawed Monster and the Shadow Raisin. Looking at his achievement, our protagonist said happily, "Because I increased my intelligence stat, I can now have 5 shadow soldiers with me at once." As he was boasting, Beru splashed cold water on him. "That's nothing compared to the 10 million troops, His Majesty." Before he could finish, Suho bonked him on the head, his face red with anger. "Shut up! Are you trying to jinx me? No one said you were mute." By now, night had fallen. The air grew darker and colder. Our protagonist hid behind a bush, observing what was in front of him. Raiken's Fang exclaimed with joy. "There it is, the gate to the sanctuary. Damn, I can't believe there are still people here at this hour." In front of them was the secret base of the Hyena Guild. The place looked quite clean and deserted. Suddenly, 2 idiots appeared. Damn, I can't believe there are still people here at this hour, our protagonist said, annoyed. I know, right? They're so diligent, Beru added. Suddenly, Suho's eyes widened in surprise. But why are they here at this time? Wouldn't it be more profitable to hunt monsters these days? Following their gaze, he saw a car approaching the hunters. The car stopped, and when he saw the people getting out, our protagonist was even more surprised. Not only that, but the civilians' hands were tied. A pervert with a disgusting, thirsty look on his face stared at the pretty girl in front of him. Immediately, Suho asked, Beru, are we witnessing human trafficking? It seems so. Young lord, we are illegal intruders here, so it's best not to make a sound. If we get caught, that guild will... Before Beru could finish, he turned and saw that Suho had disappeared. Huh. Where did he go? Beru asked, bewildered. He's gone, Raiken's Fang said calmly. His father was a detective who hunted criminals. His grandfather was a legendary firefighter, and the 21-year-old Sung Suho grew up watching them. At the same time, the Hyena Guild members sensed something behind them and glanced back. But it wasn't that simple. Our protagonist descended from above his eyes, filled with rage. But they all have one thing in common: they can't stand by and watch injustice. Quickly, our protagonist charged forward and kicked the pervert from the Hyena Guild in the face, then stomped his face into the ground so hard even his ancestors wouldn't recognize him. The shadow soldiers Beru and Raiken's Fang were all sweating, terrified by Suho's reckless action. On the other hand, this enraged the Hyena Guild members. They all gritted their teeth in anger. The one whose face was stomped was lying flat on the ground, the surrounding ground shattered. Our protagonist's power was truly on another level. He then glanced coldly at the Hyena Guild members behind him. You damn brat, how dare you! They roared. But at that moment, our protagonist realized the serious problem he had just caused. Oh no, I acted too soon. Trespassing on another guild's territory is illegal. What should I do? Suddenly, an idea popped into his head. Ah, that's right, I have a way. Immediately, a shadow soldier was summoned by Suho, and he used his power to turn it into a mask on his face. Suho turned back and said, You kidnapped and threatened people. What the hell is the Hyena Guild doing? But the Hyena Guild members were still furious. You're the one who should be saying that you trespassed on someone else's territory and attacked. Are you asking for death? Brothers, get him. The underlings obeyed and charged forward. But what chance did they have against him? Suho easily dodged their attacks. By dodging, he quickly assessed their strength. A quick look shows the average level of a Hyena Guild member is D rank. Looks like I'll have to hold back. With that thought, our protagonist officially made his move. He threw a light punch and 2 Hyena Guild members were sent flying. All right, that's holding back, right? He then shot up into the air, aiming for the remaining people. He even spread his legs wide to attack 2 opponents at once. They were all terrified, their faces bloody. From a distance, Beru could clearly feel it. Young lord, you've become much stronger. Those so-called D-rank awakened humans are no match for you anymore. This servant Beru is so moved. At that moment, a status window appeared. Name Sung Suho. Level 16. Class None. Fatigue. Title None. HP 2, 350. MP 235. Strength 38. Stamina 25. Agility 25. Intelligence 25. Sense 25. Available points 0. And in a flash, the Hyena Guild members were all tied up by our protagonist, their faces so bruised their own ancestors wouldn't recognize them. You've taken care of everything, young lord, Beru said. The civilians he had saved thanked him profusely. Thank you so much for saving us. Are you a hunter from the Hunter Association? You can think of it that way, our protagonist replied coldly. I'll take care of this. You all escape to a safe place. At that moment, their eyes shone with admiration, as if he were their idol. After the people left, our protagonist scratched his head and wondered, but why did the Hyena Guild kidnap people? Suddenly, Raiken's Fang spoke up. Sung Suho, I can feel it. What are you talking about? Suho replied. The reason I told you we had to come here. It's over there, the sword added. In front of them was a rather gloomy and dark-looking house. Our protagonist quickly approached and opened the door. Suddenly, Suho's eyes widened in terror. Looking at the scene before him, our protagonist was stunned. Is this where they keep people? The house was filled with strange discarded syringes. Beru suddenly sensed something. This faint energy, it can't be. What caught Suho's eye was a cage. Inside, a weak-looking dog was curled up. They even keep dogs here. What on earth is the hyena guild up to? Our protagonist said, bewildered. That's not a dog, Raiken's Fang explained. This little wolf is a descendant of the beast monarch, the king of beasts. Hearing this, Suho was completely shocked. What the hell? He yelled. You're talking about this filthy dog. After being defeated by the Dark Monarch in the war, Raiken's Fang continued, the beast monarch assigned a guardian to escort his remaining descendants to a place of refuge. He believed that another beast monarch would be reborn one day if his bloodline could survive. In truth, I didn't even hope for the birth of a new beast monarch. I just hoped his descendants could survive. Beru agreed with Raiken's Fang. It's true, he said. I can vaguely sense the beast monarch's presence. Its life force is fading. If we leave it alone, it will die. Young lord, what will you do? Our protagonist stared at the dog, his eyes filled with hesitation. Before he could finish, a voice echoed from outside the door. What's this? The whole group outside is down. I thought there would be a few intruders, but it turns out there's only one. Our protagonist immediately summoned the mask to his face, then glanced back, gritting his teeth. Damn it, there's still one left, but he's probably not that simple. The moment he saw him, Suho's eyes widened in horror. A monster! In front of them was a large demon with sharp claws. It roared, Damn it! The hyena guild is useless. A whole group of them couldn't even kill one brat. You can't trust these humans. Raiken's Fang quickly recognized the opponent. Roki, you're still alive. You know him? Our protagonist asked. Not exactly, but I know a little. He was the guardian who escorted the descendants. Roki bared his teeth in a disdainful grin. Well, long time no see, Raiken's Fang. So you're still alive, huh? Raiken's Fang seemed enraged. A red light of pure hatred emanated from it as it roared, Roki, have you forgotten your duty to protect the descendants? What have you done to them? Our protagonist also stepped forward and picked up the pitiful puppy. This action inadvertently angered Roki. He stared with murderous intent. What? He growled. He then moved like the wind towards our protagonist, his claws swiping. Human, you dare touch what is mine. He snatched the puppy back. Our protagonist was stunned. Holy crap, he's so fast. Not only that, but the monster's eyes suddenly glowed red, and he grinned fiercely. He swung his arm powerfully, attacking our protagonist. Faced with this swift and deadly move, Suho couldn't react in time. As a result, he was sent flying into the distant wall, which shattered on impact. The space was filled with rubble and dust. Then, boom, a massive explosion erupted. Beru's face turned pale with fear. Young lord, he cried out in worry. The demon's attack was truly devastating. It not only sent our protagonist flying through the wall, but blew him completely outside. The force of the punch was immense. Beru flew outside, tears streaming down his face. Young lord, are you okay? He sobbed. Our protagonist clutched the wound on his chest, cursing, Damn it, that's the most painful hit I've taken recently. Blood was also streaming from his head. Oh my God, your head is bleeding, Beru shrieked in panic. My head hurts. Stop screaming, Beru, our protagonist said, annoyed as he wiped his head. At the same time, after withstanding the monster's blow, his perseverance skill leveled up. Physical resistance increased from 20% to 40%. Young Lord, Beru continued, when we arrived, I sensed the faint remnants of an energy. I just realized what it is. Iterim. I sensed the energy of the Iterim from him. Meanwhile, inside the house, Raiken's Fang was also affected by the pressure of the punch. It roared in fury. Roki, what do you think you're doing to the descendant of the beast monarch? How do you think I've maintained this strength after losing our refuge? Roki replied. It's simple, only the strong survive, and the fate of the weak depends on the will of the strong. It's only natural that the weak are made to be food for the strong. This piece of trash is weak, but it's still a descendant of the beast monarch, so it's the best source of nutrition for me. That's why I'm going to eat it. More accurately, I absorb the bloodline of the beast monarch from it. Hearing this, Raiken's Fang trembled with fury. It gritted out, Roki, even if I die, I will take you with me. Roki laughed triumphantly. Heh heh. What can a worthless thing like you do? The reason Raiken died was because he was weak. You survived until now, which makes you the strong one. I will be the next beast monarch. Suddenly, just as Roki opened his massive maw to swallow the puppy, a giant hand appeared. With a flick of a finger, a powerful force shot out and snatched the puppy from Roki's grasp. He reached out in bewilderment, but it was too late. Beru was a step faster. It grabbed the poor puppy and said, "How ridiculous." A terrifying power rushed forward. Suho, having gradually recovered from his wounds, charged in like lightning. He grabbed Raiken's Fang. Before it could even say his name, our protagonist cut it off. "It seems you're furious with him. That's good. I have business with him too, and this will be the first alliance between the dark and the beast. Itarim. I've finally found a clue about my father." At this point, Roki was enraged beyond measure. A terrifying aura radiated from him. "How troublesome. I will kill you, you insect." At the same time, a notification updated. Quest notification. Emergency quest. Hunt the hyena. Defeat the hyena Roki, and ensure your safety. Roki defeated Dora 1. Our protagonist thought, the hyena Roki. Looking at his form, I can see why he got that name. How can a monster build a guild and kidnap people? Could it be related to the Itarim? As Roki slowly stepped forward, a voice cried out, "Mr. Roki, please save us. He's not an ordinary person. We'll help you." The voice came from the Hyena Guild members who had been beaten black and blue by our protagonist earlier. Roki glanced back and considered it. "I won't let that happen," our protagonist thought, clenching his fist. Suddenly, Roki opened his massive maw towards the pathetic humans. Seeing that giant mouth, they were scared to death. He bit down hard, sending the entire group to meet their maker in one go. Our protagonist was stunned by this insane act. "What the hell?" Roki turned back to Suho. "You think I need help from others to deal with an insect like you? Those who don't know their place must be eliminated immediately." At this, our protagonist also prepared to attack. He raised his sword and called out, "Roki!" He then swung powerfully at him. Roki raised his hand to block the sword and blood splattered everywhere. "How dare you kill people for such a reason?" our protagonist said angrily. "The right of the weak to live or die is decided by the strong," Roki replied. "Why would a strong person like me need a reason to deal with small fry like them?" And with that, our protagonist was sent flying once again. But he wasn't discouraged. He immediately jumped back up, his eyes growing more crazed. Roki closed in, launching a continuous assault. Our protagonist desperately dodged, jumping left and right. Then Roki delivered a devastating blow straight down. Everything around them exploded instantly. The blow seemed like it should have killed him, but after the dust settled, Suho was still standing there. "You think I'm that easy to beat?" Our protagonist used Tempest Slash and shot downwards. A blinding light radiated from him. He punched Roki hard, but it seemed to have no effect. The monster stood there laughing triumphantly. "Ha! Is that all you've got? At this rate, the divine weapon of the beast monarch will weep." But his joy was short-lived. Roki was about to face a bitter end. "Why are you laughing so soon?" our protagonist said with a smirk. "I'm not done yet." He then shouted, "Whirl!" Immediately, a whirlwind erupted and shot towards Roki. Raiken's Fang said angrily, "Roki, why have you become like this? You used to respect and pledge loyalty to Lord Raiken. What changed you?" Hearing this, memories of the past flooded Roki's mind. I used to respect Raiken. The thought drove him mad. An image of Raiken's sigil appeared, engraving itself deep into his subconscious. He went completely berserk, crushing Raiken's Fang. Crack! In an instant, the sword shattered into countless pieces. "I never respected him," Roki roared in fury. "I only surrendered to his power back then. I will not return to the life of the weak." Seeing Raiken's Fang shatter before his eyes, our protagonist was horrified. He screamed, "Raiken's Fang!" Roki swung his arm, attacking him. As he struck, he cursed, "Damn it, you insect! You still have time to worry about others." Our protagonist immediately felt a change in his body. "It hurts. It feels like my bones are about to be crushed. But when I think about my father fighting somewhere out there, I can't fall now." As if renewed with strength, a terrifying aura erupted from him. Suho clenched his fist with determination and threw a powerful punch at the bastard Roki. Boom, boom, boom! Explosions rang out, and everything around them shook violently from the pressure. "Young lord," Beru called out worriedly. At the same time, Raiken's Fang was weakening. The powerful aura surrounding it had depleted. "The blade is broken. My power is fading. Is this the end? The survival of the bloodline? The future of the Beast Clan? It's all in the hands of a person named Suho. I want to keep fighting. I want to fight." Its thoughts then turned towards the puppy. Its eyes began to glow more fiercely. Meanwhile, our protagonist was being beaten black and blue by Roki. At the same time, the puppy's eyes seemed to glow with fire. Raiken's Fang also noticed the unusual look in its eyes and thought, so it was stimulated by Suho's fighting spirit. "I know what I have to do. The last thing I can do is transfer the remaining power in my body to it." Immediately, the faint power of Raiken's Fang flowed into the puppy's body. And then, without anyone knowing what was happening, an intense red light shot towards Suho. The light of power radiated all over him. Our protagonist was also bewildered. What the hell is happening? Then that immense power seemed to merge with Suho. His body felt like it was being supercharged with a fire that could destroy everything. His HP recovery rate skyrocketed, reaching 21 out of 350. It was even higher than the maximum limit he had at that moment. I thought I was getting stronger, but it seems that's not the case. Can I even win this? Our protagonist thought. Roki advanced menacingly. "You've lasted quite a while for an insect," he sneered. He then laughed disgustingly. "Ha ha, now die!" Seeing Roki's sharp claws coming towards him, our protagonist cursed under his breath. Damn it! But surprisingly, in this life-or-death situation, the puppy transformed into a wolf, lunged forward, and bit down hard on Roki's arm. Our protagonist was quite surprised by this action. Roki was enraged. It seemed he was also seriously injured. The teeth marks were clearly visible on his arm, and blood gushed out like rain. The wolf then moved closer to Suho, who was frozen for a few seconds. Immediately, the system displayed a notification. "The descendant of the beast monarch has shown respect for your fighting spirit. Do you want to make the descendant of the beast monarch your comrade?" Our protagonist's face turned pale. "That puppy is a descendant of the beast clan, and it wants to be my comrade." Roki clutched his wound and snarled, You're a descendant of Raiken, yet you've absorbed the mana from Raiken's Fang." Hearing this, our protagonist thought in confusion. It absorbed the mana from Raiken's Fang, so the sword chose to sacrifice itself to save the descendant of the beast monarch. The notification reappeared. "Do you want to recruit the descendant of the beast monarch as a comrade?" Our protagonist thought, well, I intended to cooperate with Raiken's Fang from the beginning anyway. There's no reason to refuse. He immediately reached out and chose yes. You have recruited the descendant of the beast monarch as a comrade. After accepting the offer, our protagonist quickly felt a change in his body. Something was flowing into his head. Fragments of memories appeared. It was a conversation between the descendant of the beast monarch and Roki. "O descendant of the great Raiken," Roki had said, "we have lost the war against the dark monarch. In any case, this world follows the principle of survival of the fittest. Since we were defeated, we will lose countless things. You must become strong so that the beast clan can rise once again." The two of them had once shared happy memories. But one day, the descendant of Raiken was filled with despair and tears. The appearance of strangers had changed everything. Why haven't you killed me yet?" Roki had said in pain. A mysterious woman holding a pet said, "This monster looks useful. What a coincidence. You're just what I need. Therefore, I will choose you, the hyena Roki." She then held a magic stone in front of Roki's eyes and without hesitation embedded it in his head. The puppy watched helplessly, tears streaming down its face. "From this moment on," she added, "your mission is to capture humans and bring them to us. The thing I've implanted in you will enhance your strength." Of course, depending on who uses it, the desires they carry within them may be distorted. Back in the present, our protagonist thought, so that was the descendant of the beast monarch's memory, and the people who implanted something in Roki's eye. They must be the masterminds related to the Iterum. The descendant of the beast monarch doesn't want revenge on Roki, but wants to stop his rampage. If this is related to their plan, I have to defeat Roki. but with my current strength, I can't win. Suddenly, the system displayed another notification. You have received a quest for recruiting a comrade. Quest information, Descendants of the Monarchs. Find the descendants of the other monarchs and recruit them as comrades. Number of monarchs' descendants you have recruited 1-8. Reward an unsolved mystery. A link skill is being established from the bond with the descendant of the beast monarch. As soon as the system notification ended, both the descendant of the beast monarch and our protagonist reacted. One radiated an orange power, the other a blue power, and then the two powers clashed. A blinding light erupted. Beru, watching from a distance, was stunned. "What, the young lord is undergoing a different transformation than his majesty!" Roki furious roared. "I don't know what's happening, but do you think I'll just stand by and watch until it's over?" He opened his mouth wide and screamed, then gathered all his strength and struck at Suho, who was in the middle of his transformation. All that was left was a cloud of dust. Then another notification appeared. A new skill has been created from the bond with the descendant of the beast monarch. After the new skill was created, a large hand reached out and grabbed Roki's arm. A figure with smoky hair gradually appeared. More accurately, it was the form of Suho and the descendant of the beast monarch fused into one. And this version was incredibly handsome. While our protagonist was still getting used to his new body, a notification appeared. Link skill, Beast Incarnation. Mana, cost 1 per second. By allowing the descendant of the beast monarch to inhabit your body, your physical abilities have been enhanced. Your senses have become as sharp as a wild beast. Roki was completely shocked. Damn it! What the hell is this? This time he absorbed the descendant of the beast monarch. Meanwhile, Suho was gradually adapting to his new body. He could clearly feel the change. My body is so light. I can feel my senses getting sharper, and I can perceive the optimal movements to avoid danger. If it's now, maybe... With that thought, he swung his leg forward, kicking the hyena Roki hard. The hyena immediately felt excruciating pain. What the hell is this? Is this really the same brat from before I can't lose? If I fall here, it's really over. He then punched hard at Suho. Take this. From above, Beru thought. His mana has increased again. Roki opened his mouth and roared, I don't know what trick you pulled, but one thing is for sure, I will never be defeated by a lowly human like you. In the end, the difference in power comes from the difference between races. If you have to blame someone, blame yourself for being born a human, you lowly human. And with that, boom, two immense powers clashed. The two opponents were evenly matched, and they stood there for a long time, neither giving an inch. Suddenly, another notification appeared. You have learned the skill. Hand-to-hand combat Laverne 1. Skill hand-to-hand combat Laverne 1 passive. Mana cost none. You have become proficient in close combat. Damage increases by 33% when you attack an opponent using your body. At this point, Beru couldn't hold back. How dare you speak of race in front of the young lord? There is no creature that can stand above the race of the Dark Monarch. Hearing this, the hyena Roki was shocked. Wait, so this child is of the Dark Monarch's bloodline. While he was distracted, our protagonist charged in. He raised his long leg high, his body radiating immense power. Then, without hesitation, he kicked his opponent hard. Not only that, but he also delivered a continuous barrage of punches at Roki. The surrounding ground shattered into 1,000 pieces. The pressure radiating from him was also terrifying. A thick cloud of dust rose into the sky. And then Suho gradually returned to his original state. The descendant of the beast monarch also separated from his body. Roki, however, was not resigned to his fate. He couldn't accept this bitter truth. He lay there groaning. Stronger. I must be stronger. Stronger. The wolf approached and licked Roki's face. It seemed that injuring him was not what it wanted at all. But he had been corrupted by his own desires and had lost his sense of right and wrong. And the wolf only wanted him to realize this. And in his final moments, he finally did. Now I remember. The reason I wanted to become stronger. Lord Raiken, I was so angry that I couldn't protect you. Perhaps realizing this, it was all too late. And so he passed away peacefully. Immediately after, a notification appeared. You have defeated the hyena Roki. Notice, you have leveled up. You have leveled up. The little wolf stood there looking at Roki's body with great sadness. You did well, young lord, Beru said. Beru, Suho asked. You said you sensed the energy of the harem from Roki, right? Just now I was able to glimpse into the memories of the descendant of the beast monarch, the hunters who entered the dungeon where Roki was and put something in his eye. Were those hunters from the harem? Why did they attack Roki? They were definitely not the harem, Beru replied. The outer gods would not act so directly. They will only use the apostles to disrupt the chains of causality. However, the actions of those hunters are undoubtedly connected to the invasion of this world. Suho asked, Does that mean the apostles of the harem are present on Earth? I wish I had more information. If I lose their trail here again, Beru spoke up. There is a way to find information, my liege, Suho exclaimed in surprise. Really? Beru continued. Roki holds memories of the harem. If I consume the rest of his corpse, I can see into his memories. By doing so, I can also recover my magic power. It's truly killing two birds with one stone. A bewildered Suho asked, Huh, you have that ability too? Then the protagonist turned to the side. There, the young hyena was still mourning the death of its kin. Suho approached it and asked, Do you want to come with us? There's a place I'd like to show you. The young hyena stared at the protagonist in contemplation for a long time. Suho simply smiled back gently as if to say, Don't worry, I don't eat dog meat. Suddenly, the hyena cub leaped forward and affectionately licked Suho, confirming its trust. With that, the protagonist took out the key and opened the shadow dungeon. The void-like gate appeared once more. Suho said, Then I'm counting on you, Beru. Beru replied, Young lord, you are being too formal with this humble servant. Scene change inside the shadow dungeon. Beru asked, Young lord, why have you entered the dungeon instead of returning home? The protagonist replied, I want to find a place for the descendant of Savage Fang to live. Even more confused, Beru asked, Inside the shadow dungeon. Suho explained, I've formed an alliance with Savage Fang's descendant. He has no protector and no place to hide. It's quite pitiful. System. Your teammate, descendant of Savage Fang, wishes for you to name them. Please give the descendant of Savage Fang a name. Suho asked, You want me to give you a name? In response, the hyena cub just nodded its head. Suho thought for a moment, then said, Since your fur is gray, I'll name you Gray. Beru was at a loss for words, thinking, His naming sense is exactly the same as His Majesty's. After receiving its name, the hyena pup, now named Gray, grinned so wide its mouth couldn't close, although that grin looked a little strange. System. Name, Gray relationship. Teammate trust. Respect. Suho continued. Gray, I will design this forest to resemble the territory of Savage Fang. Make good use of it. System. A portion of the shadow dungeon has been designed to resemble the territory of Savage Fang. The owner of the territory of Savage Fang has been changed to Gray. Suho asked, Beru, what can Gray eat? Beru replied, Because it is a descendant of Savage Fang, I believe it can eat living creatures or monsters. Suho said excitedly, That's great. There are still some monsters here that I haven't dealt with. I'll have to ask Gray to help clean them up. After speaking, the young man glanced to the side. Behind a tree, a goblin was watching them intently. But suddenly, whoosh! Gray lunged forward, mouth agape. It quickly pounced and bit the goblin's head off. Suho, sitting leisurely nearby, commented, Ha ha ha! You're really fast, Gray. I'll go organize the things I received this time. System. Mission rewards. The following rewards have been prepared for you. Reward 1, stat points, +5. Reward 2, title, Wolf Slayer. The protagonist commanded accept. System. You have acquired the title, Wolf Slayer. Title, Wolf Slayer. A title bestowed upon a hunter skilled in killing wolves. When fighting beast-type monsters, your stats will increase by 40%. Suho said in confusion, Wolf Slayer. But wasn't Roki a hyena? Beru replied. A minor technicality. Please disregard it, my liege. Suho continued. Enough. This quest. Find the descendants of the monarchs and make them your allies. System quest information. Descendants of the monarchs. Find the descendants of the other monarchs and turn them into your allies. Current descendants of monarchs, 1-8. Reward. Beru spoke. The monarchs did not have a system like this. I've heard that the leveling system created for you, my liege, was modified to a certain extent by removing the malicious intent inherent in the original. The protagonist asked, "Malicious intent?" Beru replied. Back then, the system's purpose was to force a human named Sung Jinwoo to grow. The architect's plan was to use him as a vessel for the Shadow Monarch. The moment that goal was achieved, your father's soul was meant to be destroyed. But your father overcame the system's purpose and became the Shadow Monarch himself. He became a being so great that he no longer needed to level up. Suho asked again, "So this system has now changed to allow me to become the Shadow Monarch?" "Not exactly," Beru answered. "There is only one Shadow Monarch in this world. I believe the system will adapt to your growth and serve as a guide. If any new functions appear, they were surely created to assist you, my liege." A perplexed Suho said, "The purpose of this system, huh?" He then commanded, "Status window." The status board appeared, his stats still quite low. Suho continued, "After hearing what you said, I understand why my class is still none. My stats have increased a lot since I was chased by those flame golems back at level 1. I've also gained many useful skills. However, I'm still very weak. Even in the recent battle, if it weren't for Gray and the link skill appearing, I would have lost to Roki. If the quests the system gives me align with what I want, then I will complete them. And after completing these quests, I'm sure I'll eventually be able to see my parents again." "Oh, right. Did you find any trace of the Iterim in Broki's memories?" Beru replied. "I tried looking into his memories, but there was no Iterim apostle who had brainwashed Broki." Suho asked, "So there are no clues?" "However," Beru added, "there are memories of the humans who created the Hyena Guild for Broki and gathered the kidnapped people. The name of that guild is Reaper." "A guild," Suho said, shocked. Beru continued, "If we dig deeper into that guild, I believe we will be able to find more information about the Iterim." Scene change elsewhere. On a table, an advanced smartphone was ringing. A hand reached out and accepted the call. The man answered, "What is it, Imu? Didn't I tell you to go to Southwest Asia to assist with the raid?" The person on the phone said, "That's not important right now. Haven't you seen the news? You were the one behind the hyena incident all along, weren't you?" The other man replied, "What incident? If you want to see a hyena, why don't you go to a zoo?" "Stop playing dumb, Lee Min-sung," the voice on the phone shot back. The man in the chair, Lee Min-sung, said, "Your tone is getting on my nerves. I already know you commissioned the Hyena Guild. The Hunters Association will find out soon enough." Lee Min-sung scoffed. "And how will they question me if I deny it? What can they do? Once I mobilize my lawyers, not even the association can touch me." "Even so, don't get too arrogant," the voice warned. "The law may not have enough power, but the association president is not someone to be trifled with. You better clean this up before I get back." Immediately after the caller hung up, the man in the chair, his face contorted with rage, snarled, "He dares hang up on me right after he's done talking. He used to be nothing but my driver, but now he acts so high and mighty just because he's an S-rank." With a roar, he slammed his fist, shattering the table in front of him. He continued, "The one who defeated Broki and destroyed the Hyena Guild. The information I got from the survivors only said it was a young hunter wearing a black mask. I don't have time to waste on someone I have so little information about. Right now, this is what's most important." Character introduction. This hothead is Lee Min-sung, Vice Guild Master of the Reaper Guild, an A-rank hunter. He smirked sinisterly and said, "The Hunter Awakening Stimulant. If this deal goes smoothly, no one will ever look down on me again."